what you're tracking.
Well, when you think about the mortgage interest rate piece of it, I mean, that's a situation where we're kind of stuck.
Okay.
Because, yes, mortgage interest rates are high, and that's preventing some people from buying. It's also preventing a lot of people from selling because they're going to buy into a different house at a different mortgage interest rate. But at the same time, the house prices are very high, and that goes back to the demand part. So what's going to bring down affordability in the owner-occupied part of the market? If you bring down interest rates, all that does is make house prices go up more. And that wrecks affordability. What you really need is some moderation in house prices. And the only way to get that is supply growth. But we need supply growth on the rental side of the market as well as on the owner-occupied side of the market. And part of the reason for that is that we think that we're witnessing a shift among households to prefer renting for longer. And that's because, for the first time, they've had the opportunity to rent professionally managed, well-built, single-family houses. Instead of having to buy a house if you want 4 walls and a yard, you're able to rent it. And what that means is you're not being forced to buy into something that maybe you'll want several years from now. You're able to rent something that you want right now and then move into a bigger rental place or an owner-occupied house later on when it makes sense for you.
When should we expect to see some relief when it comes to pricing?
Well, we are seeing some relief. When you look at you showed the house price appreciation numbers that came out this morning. They're still very strong year to year. On the rental side of the market, rent growth over the last year has been very close to zero, maybe even below zero, depending on which part of the market you're looking at and which data source you're looking at. So that part of the problem really has been solved. But we need to continue developing more rental housing in order to make sure that rents don't creep up again because demand is still growing.
Whose fault is high home prices? I mean, millennials get blamed for everything these days. Is it our fault that we're not buying into homes that we can't afford right now, even despite family formation that might be happening or job relocation, whatever the factor, the input is?
No, I would say the real problem and the reason that what Secretary Yellen talked about yesterday is so important is because the fault is the cost of developing new housing at all levels, of all types, in all areas. But the result of that is that only the most expensive housing gets developed. We have to make it possible to develop. It doesn't need to be what we call affordable housing, with markets, with subsidies and that sort of thing. It just has to be housing for normal people, housing for regular people. And that is very difficult to develop. So it's only the most expensive things that get developed. And therefore, the price of the house goes up, even though the people don't want those expensive houses. What they really want is moderate houses.
Brad Case.